It was late autumn, and the highways stretching across the countryside were nearly deserted at night. The darkness clung to everything like a heavy blanket, with only the faint glow of my headlights cutting through the mist. I had been driving for hours, leaving the city behind after visiting my cousin. The road was long, flat, and eerily quiet, with endless trees pressing close on either side. I rolled down the window a little to fight the creeping drowsiness, letting the cold air bite at my face. There was something unnerving about this drive. No other cars, no signs of life, just the hum of my engine and the rhythmic thump of tires against the asphalt. The silence was unnatural, so thick it seemed to swallow the sound of my car. I kept glancing at my rearview mirror, though I wasn't sure why. The empty road behind me looked darker than the night itself, as though it could swallow me whole if I stared too long. Somewhere deep down, I had this strange, persistent sense that I was not as alone as the road wanted me to believe. An hour into the drive, my headlights swept over a lone figure walking along the shoulder of the highway. A woman. She wore a pale dress that looked out of place for the cold night, and her long dark hair seemed to shimmer under the beam of my lights. Relief flooded me at first. I wasn't the only person out here. But unease followed just as quickly. Who would walk on such a desolate road this late? Against better judgment, I slowed the car. Her head turned slightly, but she didn't raise her hand to ask for a ride. Instead, she stood perfectly still, staring toward the trees. When I passed her, I risked a glance in the mirror and froze. She was gone. There was no way she could have disappeared in the span of seconds, but the shoulder of the road was empty. My hands tightened on the steering wheel as my heartbeat pounded in my ears. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I imagined her. But the image of her pale dress and still figure seared itself into my mind. That's when I decided to turn on the radio for some background noise. Static filled the speakers at first before a faint, broken voice whispered through. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone chilled me to the core. The road stretched endlessly. It felt like I'd been driving in circles, though I hadn't taken a single turn. My GPS lost signal minutes earlier, and the dashboard clock seemed stuck at 2:13 a.m. Anxiety crept over me in waves, prickling the back of my neck. Then, just ahead, my headlights revealed another figure. The same woman. Her pale dress, her dark hair, her stillness, it was identical to before. My heart dropped. I pressed the accelerator harder, speeding past her this time without slowing. I didn't dare glance in the rearview mirror. The sensation of being watched gnawed at me. The trees on either side of the road seemed closer now, leaning in as though listening. Shadows shifted where they shouldn't, forming fleeting human shapes that dissolved when I blinked. I tried humming to myself, a desperate attempt to drown out the rising fear, but even my own voice sounded wrong in the stillness. Then, from the back seat came the faintest sound, a low, shuddering breath that was not mine. I slammed on the brakes, heart in my throat, and whipped around to face the back seat. Empty. My duffel bag sat on the seat untouched, but the air seemed heavier, colder, as though something had just been there. I sat frozen, listening, waiting, but the only sound was the ragged thump of my heartbeat. Slowly, I forced the car back into motion. I told myself that I would make it to the next exit, pull into a gas station and call someone, anyone. But the exits never came. The road just went on and on. When my eyes darted to the rearview mirror again, I nearly swerved off the road. She was there, sitting in my back seat, the pale woman, face hidden by her hair, her body unnaturally still. I couldn't scream. My throat locked. All I could do was stare, transfixed, as my car surged forward into the endless night. After a few eternal seconds, I blinked, and she was gone. The seat was empty again, but my fear had rooted itself deep. An icy certainty settled in my chest. She wasn't a hallucination. She was real. I drove faster, desperate to outrun her, but the road twisted into something unfamiliar. The trees leaned over me, their branches forming shapes that almost resembled faces, eyes watching, mouths twisted, and silent screams. My headlights flickered and the radio hissed with distorted whispers. One word repeated over and over, though I couldn't decipher if it was English or something older, darker. My hands trembled on the wheel. Suddenly, in the middle of the road ahead, she appeared again. Closer this time, her face fully visible. It was pale, corpse-like, with hollow eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. I swerved violently, tires screeching, nearly losing control. When I straightened, she was gone, but her face lingered in my mind, burned into memory. I realized then what terrified me most. She wasn't trying to harm me. She was trying to keep me here, on this road, forever. The weight of that realization pressed down like a stone, suffocating me. Hours, or maybe minutes, passed. Time was meaningless. My gas tank impossibly never seemed to empty, though I had been driving without end. I understood now. This wasn't just a road. It was a trap, a loop, a purgatory, and I wasn't the first one here. The broken whispers on the radio weren't static at all. They were voices of others who had driven this highway, warning me, crying out, forever lost to the midnight road. My hands shook as I gripped the steering wheel tighter, the only thought running through my mind, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. But deep inside, I knew the truth. The moment I slowed, the moment I looked too long into the mirror, she would be there waiting. And one day, she would not vanish. She would sit in my car until the end of the drive, until I joined the endless chorus of voices whispering in the static, lost to the midnight road.